This is program 1129. That's how many weeks I've done this show. And we're going to do the last week in July 2018. And it's an interesting time because the prior new moon and an eclipse at 20 Cancer opposed Pluto. And Pluto, as you know, involves everything from police to sharks to power and control issues and territory. And in this case, when you have an eclipse opposing Pluto, anybody that opposes Pluto tends to lose, sometimes quite radically. So you're in kind of a month of concerns about police misbehaving and people taking the law into their own hands. There could be some mass deaths even from Pluto. Let's see, you have a lunar eclipse coming up on the 27th, about a week from where you're at now, at 4 Aquarius 45. It's a very interesting eclipse because it involves Mars, and we're going to ramp up the heat. We've had some pretty horrendous heat problems. I've got them in my own house. Oh boy, I can't work at all. My brain doesn't function between about 11 and 3 because the temperature goes up so high. I'm under a lot of body stress. What else is going on in the sky mirror? Well, Mercury's going retrograde on the 25th of July. And so any important papers and stuff you want to get done, if you don't want to do them twice, probably should try to get them done before July 25th at 7:03 p.m. After that, about half of them will have to be done twice. It's just the way old Mercury is when Mercury goes retrograde. You know, half the time he returns to the same place. It's like the messenger, the mailman comes by and gives you your mail, and son of a gun, he comes back a little later and gives you more mail. So half the time, things you write, messages, things you move around and take around, messengers and deliveries, you know, for 3 weeks after July 25th, for 3 weeks, about half of them will be done again. So I try to fox Mercury a little bit. If I'm going to make a call, I will call a number and let it ring once, hang up quick and punch redial. So I've actually rung it up twice. I've made the call twice and fooled old Mercury here. Of course, if you were a salesman, this 3-week period is a good time because you go to make a call, there's a good 50% chance that you'll have to come back again for some reason, which means your sales call was probably successful. Let's see, what else have we got going here? Well, more on the hurricane, of course. And there's that October 24th lunation comes in strong, and then November 5th. Was that November 15th? Anyway, August 4th, there's something coming up. I haven't got at it yet. I want to get into the VOG thing again. The last, which is 11/27, I did a really good bit on VOG and SO2, and I might just serve that up to you again. At any rate, we've got that transiting sun opposing Mars, and that comes up in a week, real strong. That'll be the worst of the heat wave that's happening to everybody here. Oh boy, it's tough on me. Well, let's take a look at the sky mirror. What's the chart look like? Here's the pattern of planets. I've drawn it all up for you. It looks complicated, I know, but it's not. It's just a picture of the sky where everything is. Here's the sun, the end of Cancer, going into Leo. Here's Mars at 6 Aquarius, going backwards. So at the end of next week, The sun is going to be opposing Mars, and you won't like the heat. No. What else is going on here? Let's see, Venus is opposing Neptune. There's a lot of confusions about love, affection, sweets, and so on. Mars here. Mars is going to make a eclipse call, and at 4 Aquarius 45, Mars is right on that full moon eclipse. So there's going to be a heat wave, and there's going to be some fires. We already have a lot of fires. See what else is going on. Uranus here is in trine to Saturn. So there's some organized media going on and some technical things that are organized. I'm trying to organize an air conditioner somehow, and it's not as easy as you think. They don't install them anymore. They expect you to do it, which isn't easy for me at my age. Any big strong men out there like to come and help a little old astrologer who had trouble lifting a heavy air conditioner around? I could sure use some help. Let's see. What we want to do is run the moon around the edge of the planetary pattern and see what goes on. Here's Jupiter in trine in harmony with Neptune. So a lot of truth and wisdom coming out, especially about Neptune stuff. I wish I'd finally learned the truth of Roundup, which poisoned me for 2-3 years. And it isn't just the Roundup, it's the components that they put in the Roundup, not the glyphosate. So a lot of shabai, a lot of foolishness. Companies trying to keep their money going. They don't give a damn for public health. Shame on Monsanto and Dow and DuPont and all these characters that don't recognize the pollution that they're doing to our Earth. It's Neptune stuff. It's very tricky. Neptune is very tricky. It's like for a couple of years now they said, well, test the glyphosate in Roundup. And they test it, and it's not that bad. It's mildly carcinogenic, but it isn't the glyphosate. And so they all go to court and they say the glyphosate okay, look at the tests. And they got by all the regulations. And the EPA has just gotten defanged. Scott Pruitt is gone, hooray. He left earlier than I thought. What I thought was he's going to have lunations for about 6 months. But now I see that that's because he doesn't know what he's going to do. He's going to do this. No, he's going to do that. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. That's the aftermath of leaving that job. And he's still stuck with the fact that he's a public figure that people hate. He's dismantling our environmental protections, our wildlife. He's opening up our national parks to mining and to oil interests. And he just undid almost everything he could find that Obama and prior enlightened presidents had put in to protect our environment. Well, let's take a look at it day by day. We're going to run the moon around the edge of the planetary pattern. It gives us the mood of the times. And if you're on the Thursday show, and the Thursday night show, the moon just went into Scorpio, and middle of the day you didn't get much done. There was a square to the sun. But in the evening, here's a nice sextile to Saturn. And you're getting organized, aren't you? Yeah, Thursday night. Not bad. Trouble is, here's the square to Mars, Friday morning. Uh-oh. It gets hot. People get angry. There's going to be some fights and some fires. It's a difficult thing. That's Mars. When he's near that 4-degree Aquarius eclipse, it's going to happen a week from Friday and really set off all Mars. Mars even looks different in the sky, It's got big dust storms on it. It's changed color. So Mars is a planet to watch right now. Fires all over the mainland. Lots of fires. Yeah, so Friday's complicated. There's a sweet spot here, because after the Mars hits early in the morning Friday. There's a little tick mark about before breakfast almost. These lines are about 2 a.m. in the morning in Hawaii. So you got a overheated breakfast. And by the middle of the day, here's Venus. Here's a nice sextile to Venus in Virgo. And there's some sweets and some pleasure and some fun. And then the moon goes by Jupiter, and then more truth is going to come out. I tell you, there's so much truth coming out now. And what you're learning is that our institutions, aren't working. No, they're not. The FBI isn't working. The border guards aren't working. The prison system isn't working. The EPA protective system isn't working. We have designed these institutions and put people in there that would rather not do anything. Look at our civil defense system. Oh boy. This is not a drill. So there's a lot of truth coming out, and it's very disturbing because all of these institutions of ours could be doing much better, and they're not. And the result is a failure for our safety and health. So truth is there, but it's disturbing. I certainly am. I've been so discouraged, I just feel like sometimes quitting, period. But I'm a Taurus rising, I don't give up. What's your rising sign, by the way? Do you know your rising sign? If you're a mutable sign rising, Sag, Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, you get to move and jump all around and do several things at once and be very adaptable. If you're a fixed sign like me, a Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius, geez, we get stuck in a rut. We just keep going. Sometimes we don't know when to stop, huh? Cardinal signs rising, Capricorn, Cancer, Libra, Aries. So knowing your rising sign is really neat. Besides which, once you know your rising sign, you read those little columns in the newspapers. They really work. Yeah, they work on your rising sign. They're built for sun sign, which is the piece of astrology that kind of ruined the whole science in the West, at least in America. Sun sign astrology is crap. It doesn't work. The sun is the father or the boss or the men your projects. It's not you. You are your rising sign. And the more you know about it, that's the first stage of learning, is just to know what your rising sign is. So if you feel like finding some truth Friday, give me a call. Yeah, rolandfrost@yahoo.com. Or you can call me on the phone if you want, 322-3584. I'll do your rising sign for you for nothing. You got an accurate birth time. I'll just set it up on the computer and give you your rising sign. No charge. Although I would like to do an update and go over the next 2 years for you in detail on a DVD and send it to you. Pave your path so you know about the stuff that's coming up. By the way, the charts I'm doing for people lately all seem to show a disruption from Uranus around October. So the hurricane, October, November, is showing up in personal charts. It's nothing like having your power lines down. Oh boy, being without power. Ugh. No TV, no internet, no nothing. It's kind of frightening when that happens. Well, Friday is a day of faith. The moon goes by Jupiter, truth comes out. It trines Neptune in the afternoon, after lunch. And you'll learn more about the Neptune characters in this play, which by and large are very tricky characters. I mean, you look at religion, art, music, they're not exactly what they seem. Well, that's what Friday's like. It's a heck of a day. Moon going by Jupiter. Saturday, the moon's still in Scorpio on the 21st. And it starts in the morning when the moon makes a nice sextile to Pluto. Now Pluto is acting up. Yes, since that eclipse opposed Pluto. Wow. Bugs everywhere. Eek, a bug. So this is a good time to handle some Pluto stuff that's bugging you. That's a joke. On Saturday morning early, swat that cockroach. Don't use chemicals. There's other ways to get at the insect world. Diatomaceous earth works really good. Food grade diatomaceous earth. Buy it on the internet. White powder. Put it around the corners of your room. Insects get into it. It gets in little chinks in their armor, and they freeze up and they can't move, and they dehydrate and die. It's a non-chemical way of killing the bugs. And there's nothing worse than having a big old centipede running around the edge of your room. You have a little diatomaceous earth in the corners of your room. Boy, that you'll find them all dried out months later in a corner. Haha. So my best weapon against insects is DE, we call it. Diatomaceous earth. Diatoms. Good for your body, good for your pets. Problems getting around in the middle of Saturday. Here's a square to Mercury. And Mercury's going retrograde, on the 26th. Or the 25th, actually, at 7 p.m. in Hawaii. So, get some stuff done here if you can. On Sunday, the moon moves into Sagittarius. And it's a different feel altogether. There's a nice trine to the sun. I got ambition. I got a project to do. Then there's a sextile to Mars. I got energy. I can do stuff physically. Get out the hammer and saw and the nails. You got to start preparing for that hurricane, by the way. I got some windows to cover that are nothing but screen. So I got to get hold of some plywood and figure out how to attach them easily once the wind starts to rise. Batten down the hatches, they say. So, sometimes that's just a matter of throwing a piece of plywood across an opening. Like on a ship, the hatch, batten down the hatch just meant put some ropes and make sure the hatch doesn't blow off and expose what's inside the ship. So batten down the hatches Sunday, good time to do some work, preventative maintenance, bearing in mind you're going to have some high wind later in the year. Monday, the moon's still in Sagittarius. And, here's what is this? Oh, it's a square to Venus. You're not going to get much rest or pleasure Monday morning. Might as well get out of bed. And here's Neptune, too. Square to Neptune. Venus, pleasure and fun, and Neptune, confusion. You might have some fun here if you're light-hearted Monday morning. But, things will be taken wrong. Did you say right? I meant left. So, there's pleasure here, but there's confusion and delusion Monday morning. Monday evening, well, here's a trine to Mercury. Here's another chance to get the messenger going, to do the paperwork, to write stuff out, to carry things from here to there, deliver stuff. Is your last chance, really, before Mercury goes retrograde, which is on Wednesday night. So do what you can Monday afternoon. Tuesday, half of the day the moon's still in Sagittarius. And it's not bad. It feels kind of organized. The moon's going to go by Saturn Tuesday night and trine Uranus. So you could organize especially your electronics, electrical things, your car, your motors. My insurance doesn't cover the car out in the yard. So I got to find a protective place for my vehicle. once the wind starts to rise.